right, hello everybody. My name is Sam Langner. I'm the Community Relations Manager for Grand Canyon Railway and Hotel. I represent all of our properties here in Arizona, Northern Arizona, Grand Canyon Railway, the Grand Hotel, and of course Grand Canyon South Rim itself. We're here today to show you a little bit about our property here in Williams, Arizona. This property includes both the railway depot itself as well as our wonderful Grand Canyon Railway Hotel. And so the hotel that you're looking at itself is actually one of the newer additions to this property. Originally built back in the early 1900s, specifically in 1908, I believe. The Fray Marcos Hotel, which we'll walk over and see in a little bit, is actually one of the original Fred Harvey houses that was responsible for developing the West. So effectively when, in the early 1900s where folks were looking to travel, but there wasn't a lot of hospitality out west, the Fred Harvey Company actually made that possible and built these wonderful establishments. So again, this is the lobby of the new hotel itself, and this is a full-size hotel that responds to the train ride. It takes place in November and December, and that is based on the Van Allsburg book, The Polar Express. I'm sure you've read it to kids or certainly seen the movie with Tom Hanks, but this is actually a licensed train ride that goes to the North Pole, and there's a Santa and there's the chef on board. So this entire experience is actually designed to give kiddos and families an awesome winter experience, as well as the train ride to the Grand Canyon. And what's kind of nice about the Grand Canyon Railway Hotel complex is that if you're booking a night at our hotel, which is behind us here, you can spend the evening here, walk right across the road, hop on the train, and be at the Grand Canyon in the comfort of the railway. And so just a little bit of information about the rail ride itself. It's a 2-hour and 15-minute one-way train ride. And on board we offer a number of classes of service. So we have the first class service, which if you want, just a nice comfortable ride. Then we have the coach and Pullman class, which is very organic and that leaves off some of the creature comforts, but that not everyone needs that. Then we also have the luxury train cars as well, where you have a champagne toast on board and really get to kind of have a piece of 1950s era luxury on the way up to the Grand Canyon. And each of those, again, is available on thetrain.com, where you could learn a little bit more about what's offered and the pricing and everything else involved as well. We do have, the rooms operations. We have the food and beverage operations at our buffet, the Fred Harvey restaurant, and the gift shop. But if you're here just to do the train ride, you'd check in right there at the ticket booth, and the entire train consist is lined up here when it's here. And right now the train ride is still up at the South Rim of the Grand Canyon, so they're enjoying their time up there. But it's quite a sight to see when the full train is here, filled with people. Each consist, which for those that don't know, the term consist is effectively just a line of cars behind a locomotive. It holds about 1,000 people, and so it's a pretty full house on the ride up there. 65 miles, and it travels at 40 miles per hour to get up there. So it's just a very laid-back experience, and not only is it very relaxing, but you're actually helping the park by not driving your car in there, because the village is a very condensed space. The historic village, which is up at the South Rim, very condensed space. So by taking this train up there, you're keeping a lot of cars out of the parking lots up there. 4960 locomotive that we call the French Fry Express. So it's a 1920s era steam locomotive that was actually retrofitted to run on vegetable oil produced from our restaurants, both at the South Rim and here at the Railway Hotel in Williams. And because of that, they're actually rather clean running, but very expensive to operate. So for your stay at the South Rim component of your trip, there's the Grand Canyon South Rim Historic Village, which is kind of a spectacular place. So the reason why that is located there at all is in the late 1800s, that whole area was very rich in copper ore. And so there was a lot of mining that took place up there, which actually led to the first rail line that ran up there. It wasn't guest facing, it was purely for mining operations. But it turned out that hauling people up to the Grand Canyon was a lot more profitable than hauling back ore at that time. So in 1901, the first guests started taking the train up to the South Rim and back, and during that time, all in the early decade of the 1900s, we had the Fred Harvey Company come in, and in tandem with the Santa Fe Railway actually develop this area. So there's a number of really prime hotel locations up there. The El Tovar Hotel, which is kind of the crown jewel of the South Rim. There is the Bright Angel Lodge, Thunderbird, and Kachina, and off the beaten track is the Maswik Lodge. And so that one is one of the most recent, all things considered, lodges built in the last 50 years versus the last 100 years. But a fun fact on Maswik Lodge is that currently, in about a year, we're building a new Maswik South compound, and in the national park system, it is going to be the newest hotel that's been constructed in decades in most of the national park system. It is going to be a real exciting place for families to get to come. But yeah, at the South Rim, they have everything you'd expect. It is, retail operations. So we've got the Hopi House and Lookout Studio. And of course, we've got all the great dining opportunities as well, such as the El Tovar Hotel, Fred Harvey Burger, which, depending on the time that folks are up there, it might be open or closed. But really, the El Tovar dining room is kind of the crown jewel when you're up there. The South Rim, there's just so much to do during your time, and I'd say utilizing the shuttle system. So the go-to route is the red route that goes out to Hermit's Rest, located on the west side of the canyon complex. It's about 7 miles outside of the canyon village itself. The rim trails as well, for those that kind of want to intermingle hiking with the comfort of a bus ride. The rim trails are fantastic, and you can walk the entire span of the South Rim, basically from Yavapai Geology Museum all the way out to Hermit's Rest, which is several. That would be a very long hike. The Kolb studio, which is the great photography studio that's located right next to Bright Angel Lodge, it has kind of a rotating exhibit of artists that come in and do these spectacular paintings of the canyon. And I believe when you guys are up there, certainly they're going to have that on display. It does rotate in certain times of year. It's just a gift shop, but that's something fun to do for sure. Phantom Ranch, located all the way down at the bottom of the canyon. That, for those that make it, kudos. It is a real experience. The two ways to get down there: no way to drive into the canyon is to take the mules, or to walk down, hike down on either South Kaibab Trail or the Bright Angel Trail. But yeah, down at the bottom of the canyon, which is all formed by erosion, so you're just walking down layer by layer by layer of this spectacular monument, is basically one of the most remote hospitality locations, at the very least in the park system, if not on Earth, where there is a cantina down there that they serve a steak dinner as part of your trip down there. You put your trust in the mule, and I wouldn't want to say John's words for him, but we've taken well over 1 million people down to Phantom Ranch by mule, and no one has lost their life or anything. The ticket station, and that's where you'll load up. The hotel's right here, and behind us is the Fred Harvey restaurant, which you would access from the other side. Is our buffet that's here on property, as well as the Spencer's Pub, which is located inside of the hotel. And it's really, how we describe it is, the Railway Hotel operates as the home base for the trips that go up to the South Rim. It's kind of just a good place to relax and enjoy both before and after your trip.
get that one day off. Just kidding. The train gets one day off, and that would be Christmas. Coming up here in mile marker 16 and 17, we're going to see the North Pole over here on both sides. So that's where the Polar Express train goes to. The top speed of our train is 40 miles an hour. We cannot exceed that. 40 miles an hour, yeah. FRA regulations, so that means our average speed is 32 to 35 and our minimum is stop. Right? Yep. Now you saw some houses and a road and etc. in this area. This is still Hiemenz, Arizona. That's called 64. So a lot of people, if they live out there, they'll say, oh, I live off 64. Yeah, so they don't necessarily live off the grid. They might have solar panels. Most people do have their water hauled in because drilling for water, you may not find any. It may be really far down there. You could go hundreds of feet. Who knows? Could cost you a lot of money. So most of them have their own water hauled in or they haul it in themselves. The name of our county is Coconino County, and it's a Native American word that stands for land of little water, if that helps you out at all. These trees out here are juniper. There's a mixture. The real tall ones are the pinyon pines. But we have all kinds of foliage out here. But the juniper trees, we have the largest juniper forest in the entire world, located in Arizona. Now on that tree is a berry. They call it the juniper berry. People do a lot of stuff with the berry, right? I'm going to share 5. Only 5. Number 1, the wildlife feeds off them. Number 2, they use it for gin. Miss Conyarae has Tanqueray, our beef eaters, located here in the Mary Colter. They also use it for tobacco. Native American tribes use it for medicine. And the Native American tribes, the Navajo, uses it for jewelry. So we're going to go to the left side of this map where you see the train tracks coming upward. When we get to the Grand Canyon, we're going to be coming up to this red and blue bus bubble located there. We get to see the Grand Canyon for the very first time this early afternoon on the fireman side. Woo-hoo! For 1.3 seconds. Not kidding. We're going to come downward in front of the Maswik Lodge located right here. We're not going to get off the train. We're going to flip that switch and we're going to back up right here to the train depot. So the Tovar was created in 1901, finished in 1905, belonging to the Fred Harvey Company. Unfortunately, Fred did not get to see the completion of this building because he passed away in 1901. Now the architect was Whittlesey, and Whittlesey came from England. He created this building as a replica of an English hunting lodge. Mary Colter was our architect up here as well, and she created the interior. If you did not make reservation for lunch, it's okay. Go in and see what the availability is. They have great food. To the right is the Hopi House Mary Colter created in 1905. Not a replica, an actual dwelling. Beautiful structure, and they have great gifts inside. And Christmas is coming up, right? You might find something wonderful for your partner there. To the right is Verkamp's Visitor Center. Right in front of Verkamp's is a water station. I'm pretty sure it's unhooked. It is natural spring water that comes from the North Rim, so it's freezing temperatures right now. But behind there is a restroom. We have this dotted line here, especially for my newcomers. If you're not on a bus tour, I love this trail, and I always encourage you all to go on it. It's a walkable trail, little tiny inclines, nothing crazy. There's benches along the way, but they have a lot to share with you on that trail. So on the trail, you have plaques that tell you different peaks and point areas with little telescopes. There's different kinds of material. They have rocks out there like granite. It takes 30 to 35 minutes to get to the Geology Museum. Give yourself at least an hour and a half round trip. And just remember, no restaurants, water stations, or anything on that trail. Bright Angel Lodge, 3 places to eat there. If you're staying at either of those lodges, check-in time is anytime after 3. Luggage will be in your rooms. So they have the Harvey House Tavern inside, the Harvey House Diner, and the fountain located on the outside, facing the Grand Canyon. And they have the most amazing history room in there. I had been coming up here for 10 years before I even knew the history room existed. So go in there. They have one of the most beautiful fireplaces ever Mary Colter created. All kinds of stuff about the Harvey girls and etc. Coming out of that building to the left, they did not put it on the map. It's the oldest structure up there, Bucky O'Neill's cabin. Cannot go inside unless you're spending the night there, but you can check it out. And they put the lookout studio in a different place, but it's over on the wall of the canyon as well, Mary Colter created. And then we have the Kolb studio, which is my favorite building. You get to utilize 2 floors. It's a 5-story house on the wall of the canyon that was created in 1904. finished in 1926, belonging to the Kolb brothers. And they were filmmakers and photographers. So you can go to the second floor. It's got a museum. Ranches are huge up here, anywhere from, gosh, who knows what the starting point is. Because it takes about 50 to 100 acres per cow. So they have about 250,000 plus acres, etc. There's a ranch over by Kingman, it's about 750,000 plus acres, and etc. You'll see fencing and no fencing. Like over here, there's no fencing. It could be a privately owned ranch, state property, same for over here as well. We are a free range state. The cattle can go anywhere they like. Absolutely. Just don't hit one. Right? You don't get to take home dinner. We have the telegraph poles over here on the fireman's side. So back in the day, they did communicate from Williams to the Grand Canyon by telegraph. When we get to Willaha, which is mile marker, I believe, 38, you'll see a little phone house over here and a stockyard. Located along these tracks, we do have about every 5 to 10 miles you might see a foundation with rubble on top of them, and that would be old tract homes. So when the Beagers got this property, the state of Arizona was charging them tax, so they knocked them all down except for a couple, and I'll tell you that story in a little bit. Thank you. So they live to be about 150 years old. They have found them a little older, 200, 300 years. They found the oldest ponderosa pine tree in Colorado, 1,047 years old. It takes a really long time for these trees to burn down. Yeah, you will see some that are pretty charred, but you know, that's from a fire, also from a bark beetle probably as well. They probably burnt the tree up in the surrounding area so that it wouldn't affect more of the trees.
Tell us a little bit about how did you become a conductor? I mean, what a great job. What an awesome
How did
job.
I be? I always wanted to be a conductor since I've been a little kid.
So you really wanted to be a little
Yeah, I really did. I really wanted to do this once in my life. I didn't know I'd do it 21 years, but it's been fun. So, yeah, you know, they run their own schools here.
So what kind of training did you have to go through?
Oh, you start out as a brakeman. And first you got to get through the schools, pass all the tests. And then you usually start out as a brakeman and then do that for a few months.
So what's your favorite part? Is it the people on the train?
Yeah, I'm
or-
a people person, so that's what I enjoy doing.
He was telling us a story before that you've thrown people off the train before.
Well, if they get
A few
unruly,
times.
you can do that. Yes, the conductor has that authority. Yep. I've only did it like maybe once or twice.
I know, but it seems like it sticks in everyone's mind because that seems
Yeah.
like that's the story going around is
Yeah.
how you've tossed people off the train.
Yeah, you don't do that every day, that's for sure.
It sounds like you have a unique collection of historical railway cars.
Oh yes, they got Hiemenz cars that were built in 1923. That's what you'll see them on the Polar Express tonight.
Oh, okay.
They're gonna run a test run tonight, practice run.
Okay.
And all them cars you'll see on that train they're Hiemenz Pullman cars built by the Pullman Company in 1923, the whole bunch of them.
And you suppose they use different engines on these trains?
Well, yeah, we got some Amtrak engines on today. And then we have some Elco engines, which are older. They're the bonnet type, you know, the round, you've seen them. Yeah. They're an older engine, but we use them too. We use them. Well, our steam engines are vegetable oil now. But these got a low sulfur diesel oil. So it's a pretty green company. Yeah.
And this is one of the original cars from the Orient Express.
Yeah, this one is. Yeah, from the American Orient Express. Yep. I used to take, when they run on the American Orient Express, I used to take this to the canyon a lot as a conductor. They'd come to Williams, and our crews would take their trains. So this used to be, right here was a library where we're standing. There was offices down there. So it's been configured different since these guys got it.
And you have 5 different classes of cars?
Of service.
Service. Oh, okay.
So you got, excuse me, from coach to first class, dome class, and then you're back here, you're in the, you get the back 2 cars, you got to be 16 or over to be in here.
Welcome to Grand Canyon National Park and Hermit's Rest Red Route. Please remember, no eating, drinking, or smoking on the bus. Please stay clear of the white lines on the floor near the bus doors while the bus is in motion. The seats at the front of the bus are reserved for people with disabilities and must be vacated for anyone in need of them. The bus will stop at 9 scenic viewpoints on the way to Hermit's Rest, but will only make 3 stops on the return trip. Total time for the loop is approximately 80 minutes, not including the time you spend out enjoying the vistas. Hop off at any stop. Another bus will arrive every 10 to 15 minutes to offer you a ride to the next stop. If you choose not to complete the entire loop, announcements will indicate which stops will return to Grand Canyon Village as we approach them.
My name is Shane Allen. I am the assistant manager of the activities desk here at Bright Angel Lodge. We offer different activities that range from mule rides around the rim down to the bottom of the canyon, which are overnight rides. We have 4 different bus tours that we currently offer, a desert view tour, a hermit's rest tour, a sunrise and a sunset tour. Also, after the winter's over in the springtime, we'll restart our smooth water rafting tours. Those are the activities we offer through Xanterra, the concessionaire here at the park. There are plenty of other activities in and around the park that offer as well that we can help you out with also.
So when you do the mule rides, how far in advance do people have to reserve that?
The mule rides, there's 2, like I mentioned, there's 2 types of rides. You reserve them differently because one of them is an overnight ride. The overnight ride goes down to Phantom Ranch. It involves a stay overnight and meals at Phantom Ranch. That, in order to make a reservation, first you have to apply for and win a lottery with the National Park Service. And then once you've done that, you are allowed to make reservations. Generally, those reservations take about 15 months start to finish. The reservations for the mule rides around the rim are not as difficult at all. You can make those reservations sometimes the same day. However, we definitely suggest calling ahead as far as you possibly can. Around the Rim's a wonderful tour. It takes 3 hours of your time total. 2 hours of it is in the saddle. You go 1.5 miles along the rim. You turn around, you do 1.5 miles back. You have a guide or wrangler along the way. You get as far as 10 feet to the edge, so you're never really in danger of falling in. It's a well-chaperoned tour, very informative. It's a nice tour. I definitely suggest it. Currently, it's our winter season. We offer 1 ride at 10 o'clock. Any other season outside of winter, we offer 2 rides a day, one at 8 o'clock in the morning and another at 10 o'clock or at noon, excuse me. The bus tours are very comfortable, large coaches that are guided tours with very knowledgeable drivers. They last different lengths of time based off the tour you choose. They have stops, plenty of photo opportunities. They're very wonderful tours, especially if you're the type that's not as mobile, getting around the canyon on foot. It's a way to see kind of everything and get some information at the same time.
Is that similar to the shuttle? Do they do the same routes?
It's not. So they share some of the same routes. However, the shuttles are not nearly as comfortable a bus, for one. 2, the drivers do not give any kind of tidbits or anecdotes or any kind of information. It's just generally, think of public transportation as the shuttles. They kind of take you to and from and give you very limited information as far as what's open and what's closed.
What's your most popular tour?
Most popular tour is probably Sunset Tour by far. I recommend El Tovar. However, I would caution you make reservations. There's also some other nice offerings in the park. Bright Angel Lodge has Fred Harvey burgers, and you can also do Maswik. And there's a 4th lodge that offers food in the park called Yavapai Lodge. You do have a food truck that's open generally for 4 or 5 hours a day at least that parks in front of El Tovar that has some great offerings.
So the big question is, how do we keep our mules up with one another? Well, with this little device right here. each one of you will get one of these, and we expect you to use these, okay? What is this right here, folks? Well, you just ruined my punchline. This is a whip, all right? Well, I got a good mule for you. You don't dynamite right here. This is a whip, folks. Well, since we're in the National Park Service, we have to be politically correct. Okay, so for the next few days, this will be called your mule motivator. That's right. We motivate our mules here. We don't whip them. Okay. So a good guideline to go by next couple of days, besides being nose to butt, is when you're on your mule today, when you're looking down between those mule ears out there in front of you, you need to see that mule in front of you from those ears. Get that? You're looking between those ears, you see that bucket shut up.
I want to start by talking about some of these creepy crawly critters and talk to you folks about why, for a lot of them, we don't actually need to be afraid of them. Okay? And I want to start with one of the bigger ones. This is the giant hairy scorpion. This is the biggest scorpion we have here in the park. It's about 6 inches, I think it can get up to 6 inches long. Now, if this scorpion were to sting each and every one of us, we would all be just fine. The venom in this particular scorpion, although it's the biggest and scariest looking of them, is harmless to people. Now, I will point out that some of us might have an anaphylactic reaction. That isn't definitely a possibility, but it's not really the venom that's causing problems. And how can you be afraid of a critter that looks this adorable with the babies? Oh. It's okay. These are really kind of disgusting looking babies, I get it. But aren't they also a little adorable? Those are baby scorpions. Look at that, mama.
The babies were cute.
Yes. Now, I'm going to transition to the most dangerous scorpion we have here in the park. You guys ready?
It's probably tiny.
This is the desert bark scorpion. It can get up to 4 inches long. And if it were to sting each and every one of us, and if you folks are in back and can't see pictures, I'll definitely share them at the end. If this were to bite and sting each and every one of us, we would all be
Fine.
Oh, somebody's catching on. Just fine. Now this scorpion does have a venom. Has anyone here been stung by a scorpion before? I have. I've been stung, pretty sure, by this scorpion. Now I'll tell you, it wasn't the most pleasant experience ever. I actually thought I had bumped my funny bone on my arm. You know how that is when you hit your arm just funny and your whole arm kind of goes funny? That's what it felt like. And then the tingling sensation was in the other arm, and I tried to ignore that. And then the tingling sensation was in my face, and I thought, maybe I need to talk to somebody about this. But the reality is although that tingling sensation can last a day or two, it's not going to have an effect on us. It's not meant for us. Now, let's talk about that venom. Have you guys have been around the canyon for a while. Has anyone here seen the venom tree? The venom bush? Have you guys seen a venom store? So these scorpions have to get the venom somewhere, and they have to actually build it in their bodies. And amongst the things you can build, venom is actually pretty difficult to make. It's very costly. And considering the scorpion uses this to eat, it's a dangerous proposal. If it's using that venom for defense, it might go hungry later. How many legs does a scorpion have? 8. 8. Plus these 2 pincers at the top. Now, when a scorpion finds its prey, which are insects, it stings it. And then it takes these pincers and it tears the food into little itty bitty bits, kind of like you cutting up your food before you eat it. But then, unlike you, it regurgitates stomach juice onto the food and then sucks it into its body. A little weird, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. But are you the food? No. One of the really cool things about scorpions, and one of the things to keep in mind, is they do come out at night. And if you're ever down in the canyon and you have a black light and you bust it out, they glow under a black light. Now, we've gone back and forth about whether we know why this is. I've heard all sorts of explanations, and at one point it was thought it might just be something left over in the genetic code. But because other animals can see these wavelengths, but it also might serve them a purpose as well. We don't really know. We don't really know. They do see very well in the dark, though, and scorpions might even be able to navigate using the stars. Kind of crazy, if you ask me. But we should move away from scorpions to a different creepy crawly critter, because I think this critter eats that critter. I'd have to double check on that one. It's been 2 years, folks. I apologize. Next creepy crawly critter I want to talk about, one that's timely for this time of year.
Tarantula.
Grand Canyon brown tarantulas. These are about 4 inches, about the same size as the scorpion. I'm just going to use this one. And if this guy doesn't have a stinger, if this guy were to bite you, what were you doing to that scorpion? Or what were you doing to that tarantula? I say that because people can keep tarantulas as pets. They're that docile. So if you get a tarantula to bite you, you are really trying to annoy or intimidate that tarantula. Tarantulas have another cool feature. One of their other defenses is they have these hairs on their body that are, yep, they kind of fluff them out, kind of like a porcupine maybe bristling its quills out, so that if something tries to eat it or pick it up or attach it, it irritates the skin. That's its biggest defense, folks. That's its biggest defense. Now, that being said, tarantulas are ambush predators. So they will sit and they will make a hole in the ground and they will wait. And when something comes out, they'll jump out and attack it, right? We're gonna hit it. So they will sit in their little hole, waiting, and then jump out and get it, right? But they have silk. They use their silk to line the inside of their burrow rather than make a nest. They're a very different type of spider. What am I forgetting about you guys? They eat all sorts of insects. This time of year, we see them going out on expeditions. This time of year in particular is their breeding season. And it's typically the males you see going out and looking for girlfriends. if you're a male tarantula, you live 5 to 7 years. If you're a female tarantula, you can live something like 30 years. So, it can be dangerous to go out into the world, especially because it's not during the night. During the night is when they eat, right? It's during the day they're going out looking for mates right now. It can be very dangerous. Be safe out there. Now, what eats the Grand Canyon tarantulas? The last creepy crawly critter I want to talk to you about, one we see more in the spring and the fall, or the spring and the summer, the tarantula hawk. Tarantula hawks eat pollen and nectar. In fact, that's why we're seeing it on the flower here. Thought we had a condor for a second. It's always a possibility.
Flew right over you.
Now, to be perfect, they eat pollen and nectar, but when it's time for them to breed, the females go out and find a male tarantula. They find it, they sting it, they paralyze it, and then they drag that tarantula into a hole in the ground, sometimes the tarantula's own burrow. And then they lay an egg inside the abdomen of the tarantula while it's still alive and paralyzed. And then that larval tarantula hawk eats its way through the still alive tarantula, avoiding the vital organs until it needs to eat them. I'm not saying that the animal world can't be a little brutal, folks, but again, we're not their main prey. I will warn you, if these folks sting you, you're going to have a bad time. The females are the only ones with the stingers. But if they sting you, I've heard it described as the most painful 30 minutes of your life. Anyone know what the most painful bite or sting of any insect is? Bullet ants. These are number 2. Like I said, luckily it only lasts 30 minutes, but I've heard of people seeking medical attention because of how painful it is. Now, I know I talked about one of these critters being, I know I talked about one of these critters as being dangerous and dangerous to us a little bit. Oh, I didn't talk about how you avoid the tarantula hawks. I live up here. Now, how do we park rangers have a secret strategy to avoid tarantula hawks? No. Squirrels send more people to the clinic than anyone else, any other critter here in the park. It's because we don't respect the distance for them. Kind of like we don't respect the distance for the elk. We don't always think of them as dangerous, but they are. I think because they are so different than us, a lot of these animals like spiders and scorpions, because they are so different and they move quickly sometimes, we get a little spooked out. We're not used to things moving that way or thinking that way. We don't part of it is we just can't get into their heads. We don't understand them. I think we're afraid of a lot of these critters because we like to be afraid. We just passed spooky season, folks. We spend, about a month of trying to be at least a little bit afraid, a little bit freaked out, a little bit terrified. That's okay. These guys just have the worst publicists ever.
It was just something that I would be able to progress in as far as my job skills and job set. Yeah. I started at PM Carmen, Switchman. From there, AM Carmen. At the same time, I was doing fireman and started doing brakeman training 7 months ago.
So how many times are you on this train?
Depends on what they want to schedule me for. A lot of the time, I'm AM crew. And because I have brakeman and conductor training, they'll put me as brakeman or conductor when Bernie isn't working. Or if Bernie is working, then and there's enough cars on the train, over 12 cars, then they need a brakeman.
Now, what's the difference between a conductor and the engineer? Now, who really drives the train?
Oh, the engineer.
The engineer drives the train. So you're responsible for...
For train movement, to anything that has to do with a train movement, as far as backing into the depot or splitting. When we do a 3-car split, I'm the one that's responsible for radio contact with the engineer. I'm also responsible for whatever happens on the train. If there's emergencies or if there's like problem, if the PSA supervisor in his area of expertise can't handle it, then it's my responsibility.
Your favorite part about being a conductor?
It's really a chill trip, honestly. It's a pretty cool job. It means that I've made it to the point where I'm trusted and sought after by my bosses, the assistant train master and a train master, that they can rely on me to do the job, to get it done, and even look good doing it.
So what exactly does the brakeman do?
Brakeman is a second acting conductor. That means that they're trained. When you have brakeman training, you're training to be conductor, but there's things that the brakeman does and assistance to the conductor, such as the split. The fireman isn't available to do what they call a Santa Fe split. The brakeman is there to do it. The brakeman also has radio contact with the engineer, but he is the second acting conductor.
Okay, so I have a question about which side of the train. You have different names for different sides of the train. Like
This is fireman side. This is engineer side.
I don't have to get the gold.
Alright, keep him up!
Get out there.
Hey, brother! Tell him to put him down, I want to breathe.
Where you got it at?
Put him down! Now get out them bowling dollars.
Nope.
Don't be holdouts.
I already have the vodka with you.
I don't think so. I hear that story all the time. It's okay, sir. You're safe. You're safe. He said go.
What are you looking at?
Come on now.
Well, I'm glad to see all you women folk are still here.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now that I caught them, we're going to have a necktie party, and you're all invited to drop in and hang around. Yeah, good. I hear it's a real swinging affair.
There you go.
Oh, and if they told you I was a donut car with a glazed look in my eye, it didn't happen. Oh, let's get these scoundrels. All right, you boys, let's go.
What, Marshall? They went that way.
Yeah. Come on.
You can still catch them.
Oh, I did.
You can deputize me and I'll help.
Yeah, that's what I would want.
Yeah.
Get going.
These three guys gave me their clothes. It's them.
Yeah, that's why you were blending in.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, let's go. Oh, man. We need a better plan next time, boys.
We need a big
Keep those hands up. Hope nobody touched them. They might have fleas. All right, let's go, you scoundrels.